Hey guys, KinzTube and replacing the trend of the last video of taking up a spot that was supposed to be for Sonic Adventure because I just don't have it done. We're doing the results for the COPPA survey today. I have heard some new things. I haven't been able to confirm any of them despite trying to find sources, but I'll talk about those at the end of the video. Right now, I actually just want to get into your responses to the survey, so I want to thank everyone for taking their time out of their day to take this survey, and if you want to take it, I'm going to still leave it up. I'm not going to, like, close the answers or anything, because there's not really any point in closing the answers, so who knows, maybe in, like, 6 months or so, there'll be, like, another 100 responses or something that'll warrant an update video on the survey. Doubtful. I think everyone that's gonna take it has already taken it, but, yeah. I am really excited to share the statistics with you because I absolutely love statistics and graphs and stuff. I love this type of stuff. It's like my favorite thing in the world. So before we actually go over the results, I just want to show you how the survey actually looks, because in the results, not all the answers are shown. I want you to be able to, at least, if I don't make a special note of it, that you can go back to this section and just see what that says. I want to start us off with getting a clear definition as what is children's content and what is family friendly, so that way we can all just be on the same page for what is happening. So that is what this is. And then if we go through here, obviously the entire survey was made so that way we can figure out how old the audience generally is. So we need that. And then I also thought it'd be interested to find out how old people were when they generally first started watching Webkinz videos. If you're wondering, I was 10. And this is another question I wanted to add that I thought would be interesting, is how old do you think the general audience is for Webkinz videos? And then I also wanted to measure how frequently the people watch Webkinz videos. And then these are the ones I also found cool. It's asking, you know, Webkinz videos in general, do you consider them kids content versus the Webkinz videos you watch being kids content? Almost like the general perception versus what you're actually seeing and what people are actually going to be watching. And then this question here, this is where I actually need help. If you're wondering, Turtle helped with some of these answers here. She's the one that suggested putting the talking in purposely high voice. And then I have what makes Webkinz video not kids content. And then asking creators what they believe their videos fall into there. And if you make Webkinz videos, how old do you believe your general audience is? And then this was for people to leave their opinions on, and then just a quick feedback. Okay, now I think we've gone all over that. We can go ahead and head into the results. So as you can see, we got 79 responses. That is great. And I want to start us off with some humor, and a couple of people are like, no, you suck. So, yeah, great. I was expecting more of those, actually. Now, for the age responses, I can say I am actually a little surprised at how these turned out. I was not expecting so many people to be between 16 and 18. I thought I'd get a lot more 19 to 21-year-olds. But surprisingly, they took up a very little amount, and the largest majority was 16 to 18-year-olds. They took up almost half. And then right below them, taking up about a third, is that 13 to 15-year-olds. A couple of 10 to 12-year-olds, which I actually am surprised there's that many, but there's one person over 35, someone between 26 and 30, and then a few people also between 22 and 25. So different results than what I was expecting. I certainly was not expecting there to be so many 10 to 15-year-olds. I thought there would be a lot less, just there doesn't seem to be too many in the fandom nowadays. That's very interesting. And then you compare it to how old people were when they started watching Webkinz videos, and you can see a lot of them, actually seemingly the ones that are 16 to 18 now, are the ones that started watching when they were 10 to 12. So that is also very interesting. And then we got a couple of people that were 13 and 15, but surprisingly, there's a pretty big number, too. A quarter of people started watching when they were 7 to 9 years old. That is really young. And then we also have like about a tenth of people that were under 7 when they started watching. That's a little nuts. And now we get into the question that is really interesting, and I absolutely am like fascinated by the response for this. So, how old do you think the general audience is for Webkinz? See, so many people took a skew to 13 to 15, as opposed to what they actually are, which is pretty much 16 to 18. I mean, it's the second highest number in the actual watch category, but that is very interesting. And of course, I got some 19 to 21-year-olds, couple people there, and yeah, very few people really said that there is a lot of audience for people under 10 to 12, so. And then how frequently do you watch Webkinz videos? I must say, I am surprised there isn't a single person that said never. Well, I mean, I guess they technically watch my video, it's a total Webkinz video, but the results are pretty even from people that don't watch them hardly at all versus people that watch them a lot. I am really surprised of how many people watch them a lot, and versus like only one person said they watched it on like a count of 9. which KinzTube seems to have some pretty active viewers still, which that surprises me. And then, just a little reminder here that 1 is not kids content and 10 is purely kids content. Webkinz videos in general, most people said no or kind of as far as this goes, judging by the statistics. A few people were like, yeah, Webkinz videos are basically all kids content, and some people were like, nope, very much so not. To be honest, I probably would have put my vote in at 3 or a 4 too. And then this is where it gets even more interesting. Look at the difference in statistics here. Look how high this vote is for a 4 based on people that they watch. See, here it's a little more flattened out. Here it's like an avalanche to one side. Some people are like, no, the videos I watch are not kids content, like, at all. Up until 4, where I think that gets into, like, the kind of or maybe point. And then you can see that kind of a maybe point, there's, like, a big drop-off, and then very few people are, like, most likely and yes. Like, while this one still has, like, a definitive answer, it seems that a lot more people have stronger feelings on the videos they watch compared to what they think of in general, which that is very, very interesting. And then we get into this, which is what makes a video kids content. You'll notice the votes aren't actually a whole lot for these. The highest vote is actually 31%, so about a third said being family friendly makes something kids content, which I find it kind of funny considering right at the top of the survey, I literally put children's content is not the same as family friendly as a definition, and yet this was like the most voted category. See, Made by KinzTubers under the age of 15 also got a couple of votes, and then lighthearted or just for fun videos. And playing the online game, I've actually seen some people in the comments of the video saying that this does make it kids content, which would make sense because the online game is COPPA compliant, but at the same time, I've also been seeing a lot of videos of adults like going back and playing Webkinz on their account or something that they had when they were like 11. And those videos, while they're on Webkinz, I wouldn't consider them kids content. Because let me tell you, these adults, they're being adults. Very few people said music videos, which is understandable. And then talking about child-oriented activities, personality characters being more childlike, age of characters being young. You know how like when you have a hero that saves the day, but they're only 15? It's not like the Hedgehog. Also, very few people said bright colors, but I'm kind of surprised that the bright colors even came up. Because, like, everyone likes bright colors. Have you ever watched a speed paint? That's all bright colors. Using childlike language, I'm actually kind of surprised this didn't get more votes. But then talking a personally high voice, I am so surprised this one got so many votes. I was like, why would anyone vote for this? Talking in a high voice, I had no idea people had such strong opinions about others talking in a high voice. And then actually got a decent amount of people said none of the above, which that is interesting to me that they found 0 answers. And then of course a couple of people filled out their own response, what they would have put. Although Google does not want to show me this whole thing, I have to hold on. One person said being edutainment, which that is a very good response to the question. That should have been in the survey. Someone else said directing them towards kids using words like toy and kids in the title and speaking the same way that you would speak to a small child. That's a good one, but I also kind of feel like that was covered by childlike language, but I did not address the titles. Here's another one, the topic/content in the video being specifically made for young children. That is also a good response. Someone else also said intentionally targeting your videos to children, which that is like the dictionary definition of child content, so this person also believing a good number of the audience is kids. I don't know if that exactly makes it kids content though, because if a bunch of kids sneak into an R-rated movie, does that make that R-rated movie a kids movie? And one person also added no mature topics, which that one probably also should have been in here. So those are the responses to what makes them kids content, and here's the responses to what makes them not kids content. Do you immediately notice a difference? There is a much bigger skew. Look at this. 84% is the highest voted stat here. Meanwhile, the highest voted stat here is 31%. People have a lot stronger opinions on what makes something not kids content than what makes something kids content. This shows it is much harder to say what makes something for someone as opposed to what makes it not for them, which I believe is a fundamental flaw with how COPPA was handled on YouTube, because it's saying if your video contains this, that makes it kids content versus what doesn't make it kids content. Because as we're seeing right here, it is a lot easier to define what is not kids content than what is. But to go over the responses, lots of people said swearing. No doubt that was the highest voted category. I'm really surprised that actually this isn't like 100%, because I would always think if something has swearing, it's not kids content. Then again, do you know how much swearing kids hear in middle school? Mature themes and mature topics, I kind of think these should have been like one thing, but Turl said they should be separate. I just think topics is like the same thing as themes, because if you're talking about something mature, that's like a mature theme. So, I don't know, so these got the same amount of votes, so I guess I was right on that? And violence actually got less votes than I was expecting. I was not expecting only 75. Because I was like, I always think violence. Like, if I pick up one of my T-rated games, right on the back of it, it'll say one of the reasons it's rated T is because of violence. And this one here, I was actually reliant to put this in, but Turtle suggested I do it. But apparently portraying mental illness or mental disorders counts as making something not kids content. I personally would not have voted for this, but it seems a lot of people actually thought that this is a reason to make a video not kids content. And surprisingly, quite a few people said that the age of the KinzTuber didn't matter. I put that in there because I always kind of think that people that are under 15 and they make videos, typically their videos are targeting a more kid audience. I know that's how it was with me, at least. Complicated and tragic storylines also got a few, and music videos with strong language or mature themes. This also got quite a few votes. And the use of complex words, I'm actually surprised it's as low as it is, because I'd figure if you use language that's a lot simpler and easier to understand, that would typically be language for children. And like using more bigger and complex words, it means the video is technically for an adult. So I am really surprised this actually did not get more votes. And the video not being fully about webkins, this got very few votes too. I'm actually surprised at that. Basically, I'm surprised like all the stuff isn't higher. That's basically basically it. Talking about teens with adult-oriented activities, that got some. And personality characters being more mature, that got quite a few votes. Because I always see, if you have characters that act like children, you're probably going to attract more children. The age of characters being older, again, I am surprised this isn't higher. Not surprisingly, a lot less of the votes were for none of the above. One person added in sexual topics, which that kind of falls under mature themes. See, mature themes kind of covers like this. But one person added in says some videos, birthday gift videos for other KinzTubers made directly for someone above the age of 13. That is a good point, because while the videos can be seen by other people, they are directly intended for one person. Like you make a birthday gift video, like your gift is a video for someone. That is a very strong argument to make. This other person here said higher quality editing, rants, film projects, basically the more production value, which that is also a good response there. But again, there's also quite a few things that have like high production value and they are for kids, so, but still, really good responses with these. I'm very pleased with them. And then we got, if you make webkins videos, what category do you believe your content falls into? And surprisingly, a lot of people taking this do not make webkins videos. Like, only one person said their videos are actually kids content. Most people said they're either family friendly or not suitable for kids. This is definitely lower than what I was expecting, one vote out of like 80 responses. And then if you make webkins videos, how old do you believe your general audience is? Again, lots of people don't make webkins videos, but apparently one person started making webkins videos right between these two questions. They just started making webkins. I'm sorry, I find that just hilarious. So a few people thought the audience would be between 19 and 21, but a majority of people thought between 13 and 18 was about the right amount. Got a couple of 10 to 12-year-olds, and one person said 7 to 9. I'm guessing they're the person that marked their video as kids content. So these are also pretty interesting. And now we're getting into the responses here. Now, I don't have time to read all of these, but I will scroll through them here, so that way you can read them if you want to. There's a lot of really good, high-quality responses, and I wish I did have the time to read them all, but I'm just going to go ahead and read a select few after I'm done scrolling through this here. So the first one I want to read here is this one. Says, no, my answer may have been different about a decade ago, but there is now a group of adults who have grown up with webkins who may make videos with them in a style more akin to South Park than in a style akin to a show on Nick Jr. That is a very, very good response. Because yeah, while something like South Park, oh, it's a cartoon, you might think, oh, cartoon kids. Even though there's adult cartoons, I'm just using this as an example. Yet the show is very much so not a kid's show. while the stuff on like Nick Jr. very much so is for kids. So that is a very good comparison and a very good way to word this. This other person responds saying, not at all. Almost every person in the community is over the age of 13 and quite a few 18 or older. Mature topics, themes, and complex wordings are often used. And even on the website, I've stumbled upon a Discord server with a few hundred members, and almost every single member, if not all, I've encountered is either a young adult or older teenager. As a 15-year-old, I'm definitely on the younger side of that server. I myself am also part of a few Webkinz Discord servers, and if I must say, lots of the people I've run into there are either about my age or their parents, and they're playing the game with their kids. And they don't just do it because, oh, I want to do it for my kids. They're like, oh, I'm playing the game because I like it, and it's something nice I can share with my child. And that is very interesting, and they bring up a really good point about that. And yeah, as we saw in the age demographic, there is quite a few people that are older. Like, there's maybe about a 10% of the viewers that are below the age of 13. Unfortunately, Webkinz just are not big with kids anymore. Webkinz/plushies are not only for children. I personally see them as something for anyone to enjoy, with some even seeming to be made for older people in mind. For example, while the signatures are part of the Webkinz toy line, I'm sure their more realistic appearance, as opposed to the usually fun, wacky, childlike nature of regular Webkinz, was created more with their older audience in mind. Not to mention there are 1,000 out there who collect toys either to have as nostalgia from their childhood or simply because they enjoy cute, goofy, lighthearted things. I know I personally am a huge softie and have a ton of stuffed animals all around my room and enjoy cute, lighthearted things because sometimes the world is too depressing and you want something to make you happy. So right away, I just want to say, kudos for putting your heart out on the line here with what you said. That is a very, very good statement. Like, life is too short. The world sucks. Snuggle a plushie. And lastly, the feedback. So there's a few things I want to go over and just respond to. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time here. So I do want to address this possibly change the under age of 15 to the COPPA ages 13 under, 14 and over. I can definitely see why you would say that. However, I'd like to explain the reasoning for that. I did consider having it at 13, but the reason I put the age at 15 is because I feel like when you turn 15, that's when your videos start to become more for teenagers. At least that's how it was in my experience. When I was 14, I was making videos for people that were 12. That was like my target demographic as far as my videos went. Your voice has barely started to change at that point anyways, so I felt like the age of 15 was like a good age for that. Although you do hold a fair point for having it set to 13. And then this one here too, asking about what about other types of plushies? Should they be kids' videos? And so I want to address this because I got this asked a few other times. People saying, well, what about like art videos? Or what about this? What do you think about that? This survey and what I'm focusing on here is purely for Webkinz. I don't believe I have the audience big enough, frankly, to cover other subjects and topics. And I feel if I tried to include them all in this one survey and like include different communities, there would be way too many different responses that we couldn't narrow it down. So if you have that specific type of question, you can always make the survey yourself. You can basically copy and paste this one if you want to. So that way you can ask that specific community that you probably have more of a foothold in where you think they stand. And if you want, even send a link to me and I'll go ahead and I'll share it around for you, because the more people we have answering questions like these for other communities, the better. But that's just not what I am set out to do today. I have to focus on one thing, and I chose that thing to be Webkinz. Once results are published, I'd love to see a YouTube poll or some survey like asking what KinzTubers are marking their videos as and which ones to help us mark our own. So you kind of have to decide on your own. That's a thing here. And technically we did have that question up here of what category people think their content falls into. But the thing is, you have to decide this for yourself, and I don't think anyone else should be able to tell you or just say, hey, this is what I'm marking my videos as, because you don't know fully what kind of videos they are making. Their videos could be skewed very differently from yours. I think the thumbnails and I think the thumbnails and titles are a major factor, considering that's the first thing people see before clicking on a video. That is a very good point. That probably should have been added into the survey, but unfortunately this just came in a little too late before everyone else already took the survey. But this is a very good piece of feedback and something that should be considered when marking the video as kids content or not for kids content. My whole thoughts on this COPPA thing. First of all, I think they should make a COPPA app or something for the smaller kids to use, and parents with children under 13 shouldn't be lazy and actually what their kids are doing lately. So, first of all, this is kind of what the YouTube Kids app is for. That's what it was supposed to be. However, parents were being irresponsible and just handing their kids the YouTube app, the full version, and not the YouTube Kids app. And that was a contributing factor to this entire thing. So that is the end of the responses here for the survey. Once again, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day to fill this out. It means so much to me, and I'm sure it'll mean a lot to all the other KinzTubers gonna be watching this, and hopefully this would help you influence on how you're going to mark your videos. But of course, I also want to cover some of the comments on the video. I got so many high quality responses to this video, so I just want to take my time and go through a few. So this is one that I want to point out right here, saying YouTube told us for adults is general audience. Just set your videos for adults and it'll all be good. And they're talking about 18 plus. 18 plus is mature. That's not general audience. And technically doing something like that is still mismarking your video and does leave you open to the fine from the FTC. I do agree with you though, they can't sue everyone. It would be ridiculous if they tried. There was a lot of fear mongering going on, and I tried to kind of like calm that down a little bit, but it is a scary thing. But also saying that if you're concerned, it's best to move to another site. I know. So here's the thing. There's been a lot of websites over the years that have tried to like compete with YouTube and take their place. But here's the biggest problem with that is that they don't have the demographic that YouTube does. Not because it's like, oh, kids under 13. No, I'm talking about viewership. There isn't a big audience or big name recognition like there is with YouTube. And there's also another problem, and that is video sharing sites are very expensive because you're not just making a website, you also have to host all of the video data. Videos can be quite big in file size. That's why YouTube didn't used to support HD, didn't used to support 60 FPS, and even at one point had an 11-minute time limit. But because Google has money and was able to put the funds into YouTube, they were able to bring these things. So that is where this whole moving to another website comes up. And anytime someone's like, oh, I'm moving to this website, I immediately go, not gonna last. Because I know these pitfalls, and like every website I've seen do this never lasts more than like a year. And then Mountain Goat said, I think the reason why your 2019 audience were between the ages of 18 to 21 is because that age group pretty much made KinzTube. Although I am just barely underneath 17, stepping into adulthood is brutal. I'm going back and watching KinzTube cope, and I imagine others who grew up with it are doing the same. Which, that goes back to that response that we got up here. But yeah, I do agree with you, because Webkinz isn't bringing in a new audience. People between the 18 and 21, when they got into Webkinz back in like the 08 or the 2010 hype, yeah, that was like 10 years ago, and they were kids when they got into it, but now they're adults. This is another good comment. So it really is up in the air as what's going to happen to the community. While a lot of Webkinz content is suitable for children and family-friendly, it definitely doesn't mean it's aimed at kids. The problem here is that it seems that COPPA has a very set and strict rules as to what is and isn't kids content, and in all honesty, these rules really aren't fair and don't leave much to be labeled as not for kids. Again, harkening back to an earlier point where we said that it's a lot easier to say what is not kids content than what is kids content. It pretty much sounds like if you make any form of family-friendly content, even if that isn't your intention, your video meets the requirements of being a kid's video, and labeling it otherwise will result in mislabeling. The only way we will really find out how strict they are is when they do a sweep through YouTube. I personally have a feeling they're going to be strict about it, and a lot of creators are going to have problems. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. Lots of this has been fear-mongering, but at the same time, do we take them seriously because they're a government agency and they do have the power to do whatever they want, basically? And I like this comment from Mockingbird Inc. too. It says, children would, ideally, use their parents' accounts to watch videos. As a KinzTuber, less than 20% of the accounts watching my videos, according to YouTube's analytics, are over 25. While there are probably a select few adults watching my content, it's fairly safe to assume most of these are kids. While young parents are very much a thing, I find it pretty unlikely that the accounts under age 25 are parents' accounts. If I assume nearly all of such accounts are legitimate, I can boast 80% of my viewers watching Webkinz videos, are over 13. Through a practical lens, the statistics actually make a lot of sense. Webkinz passed their peak of popularity at least 8 years ago. If you discover Webkinz to say 2010 as a 7-year-old, you're now 17. As the brand has virtually no spotlight in the past several years, it's reasonable that most of its followers would be fairly old. You just said what I was trying to say earlier, but a lot better. Most KinzTubers are teenagers and young adults sharing content for people like ourselves. I find in reassessing our intent as content creators, we are directing our content toward other teenagers and young adults, people over 13. Simply creating in a medium presumed to be targeted towards children doesn't mean your content is for children. Sure, children like animation for its bright colors and engaging movement, but then what's up with hentai? If you're making content with the intention for children to watch it, by all means, you should mark your channel as made for kids. The thing is, that's not what most of us are going for. It's a case-by-case basis, but I think generally speaking, most KinzTubers should be safe by all logical means. Very good comment, very good points, very good analyzing. Great job. And this is the last one I want to read because I want to address this from Sky Kimmy saying, I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it, but I was wondering what you were marking your videos as. You didn't miss it. I didn't say that specifically because I am not even sure what the heck to mark my videos as, and I don't want what I mark them as to influence you in your decision because, like I said earlier, it's a case-by-case basis, and you are going to have to decide where your videos fall. You can tell how long it took me to go over that, considering now all my light is gone. I also immediately want to apologize for the background noise. My mom started vacuuming in the middle of this recording, and I really can't do anything about it. So lots of good, lots of really high-quality responses, and I hope this helped you decide what you are going to set your videos as, if you've already set them, which you probably should have. I hope this puts some confidence in your judgment. So I said there's some things I wanted to bring up now that we're at the end. That is this rumor I heard. The reason I'm calling it a rumor is because I heard it from another YouTuber. It was Arlo, actually. He had a great video, but he's not a news site, and he does not list sources. I don't know where he got the information from, and I tried to find it myself, and for the life of me, I cannot find an article or anything other than like a Reddit thread, which that's not evidence, saying where it came from or if it's even true. So I want you to take this as a rumor with a grain of salt. So apparently the FTC were the ones that actually pushed to try and get a general audience setting on YouTube. But YouTube said no and insisted on only having a for kids and not for kids setting. If that is true, that is very scummy, and YouTube definitely does not see how this really works because general audience can be people from 5 to 35. They can be anyone. It's E for everyone. Like, it's like this. This is an E for everyone game. Okay, well, it's E10 plus. Okay, never mind. But 5-year-olds can enjoy Mario. 40-year-olds can enjoy Mario because it's E for everyone. General audience is basically E for everyone. So why? It would have solved this big gray area that so many people are having. So if this is true, why would YouTube do this? And like, okay, here's another thing. People are kind of blaming the FTC, and what went on, I kind of talked about this before, last week was fear-mongering. Basically, the FTC was being like, oh, we're gonna basically kill all these YouTube channels because they're the ones that are responsible for advertising to kids, even though we find Google for that. It was just fear-mongering. Their big agenda, I don't know why they pushed all these things and like said all these things to scare the crap out of so many people, and they really did. It was just so irresponsible, which I feel even now, especially seeing how all the effects have taken place, how people would just be so inclined to just set their videos as not for kids, because if your video is for kids, it is dead on impact. So I want to bring this up. On the YouTube help page, you can see what happens if you set a live stream as made for kids. There's no autoplay, no end cards or cards in general, no channel branding watermark. That makes no sense because, geez, I see so many kids' toys with corporate branding on it. Channel memberships, that's money, it makes sense. Comments, we already knew that. No donate button, money. Likes and dislikes on YouTube Music. That is a strange choice. Why just YouTube Music? Live chat or chat donations, well, that's comments and money. Merchandise and ticketing, well, that's advertising, so. Notification bell. Kids are not allowed to be notified of when a new video is uploaded or a live stream they might want to watch has started. Personalized advertising, that's advertising, that makes sense. Playback in the mini player. That's another thing I use very frequently on my phone. I'll be out playing Pokemon Go and I will put a video in the mini player. Why can kids not do that? Kids play little phone games and tablet games all the time. What's so wrong about this mini player? Super chat or super stickers, well, that's money. Save to a playlist and save to watch later. Videos marked for kids cannot be put in playlists. If I go to one of my old videos here, which I left at set for kids, you can see, even though I'm the creator, I cannot put this in a playlist. Now, to be fair, at the video details page, I can still access playlists, but that is so unbelievably dumb. And then if your channel in a whole is set to made for kids, no channel memberships, well, that makes sense because of money. No notification bell, again, why? You can't post or stories. You don't have the community tab. There are so many weird decisions going on here that I don't even understand. So that is confusing and definitely off-putting. But what's even more confusing, between the FTC basically be like family-friendly content is dead, and some people saying just marking their videos 18+, some people deleting their accounts in general, just terrified of the fine. YouTube tweeted this out. I don't have the second half of this tweet, but they said, general audience content is intended for 13+. So if you create content that is targeted to a general audience, you can set your audience as not made for kids. A video isn't necessarily made for kids just because it's safe or appropriate for everyone to watch. This kind of goes against what everyone has been saying. I don't know. I'm half tempted just to go through and mark all my videos as not for kids, but at the same time, videos I made when I was like 10 years old, yeah. But hearkening all the way back to the point before about how YouTube was the one that said no general audience setting, could this be why they thought that? But general audience, it's not just people over 13, it can be people below 13. So general audience is all ages. Lots of Disney movies would be like general audience. That's about all I know right now, and like last time before, I'm going to list the sources, like the tweets and the YouTube help page and stuff, in the description down below. And like I said, the survey is remaining open, so if you haven't taken it yet, you can go ahead and take it. Okay, I think we all need a breather after all that COPPA stuff, so here's my cat! Sleeping with his foot in his face. He's cute. So once again, leave your whole thoughts on this thing in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next one later.